Okay, so here we are in T-minus 1 minute till FOMC release, and we got our news trading strategy all ready to roll. Let's see how exciting this news release is. And like I said before, guys, if you could share any instruments that I'm not actively tracking for this, I would appreciate it. And of course, any commentary or any opinions you guys want to share about the news release or anything on the instruments, feel free. 20 seconds. And there's probably going to be a little bit of lag in my MetaTrader. Okay, so the euro's just taking a big pop. We've got to be imminent. And there's the hour rollover. And let's see what happens. Okay, so the euro's headed skyward. DAX doesn't seem, well, I don't think I've got an update on it, but it doesn't seem to be screaming higher. Of course, this is pretty normal that I see a little bit of lag. My internet connection is not incredibly fast where I live, but it is. It's fine. No hike. Oh, so they didn't change the rate. So we will. That's quite interesting to me. We'll see if they change their language. So then it's going to be very important to see. If they change their language. And I feel with the pound US dollars heading north, as is the euro, so the market did, I guess, correctly call that before the release by popping up a little bit with the softening of the dollar. So whew, gold took a spike. I think the spike was that. Let's just look, 18.5. So about an 80 pip spike on gold. And of course, we'll see if there are any signals by the end of the first 15-minute candle. I probably won't have a chance to read the Fed report until after our session is over. But like I said, even a change in the language should actually propel the market in the direction as if there was a hike. So there's potential that they haven't even changed the language. And now, me personally, I think this is really just pandering to the markets, which the Fed is not supposed to do. I guess not. I guess there hasn't really been a language change. Otherwise, we wouldn't be seeing this type of reaction. There's still a press conference to come that can rock the market. Absolutely. So that's essentially where they may let slip their idea or their language that suggests when the rate hike is coming. So that's a good point. So the biggest question for us as traders now is what does this mean for us for the next month? Does this mean that we're going to have tough markets for the next month? Or will people trade normally and then just the week before or maybe the week of the next Fed meeting that there will be this kind of volatility / sideways market movement. What's going on in the U.S. stock market? So it looks like we may have a potential setup in gold. The Dow spiked up and is now heading down. That's interesting. Fascinating. It might be a good setup on the Dow for a short. Best would be when they state that the rate hike will be in December. If they leave it open, then we will have 3 nervous months. Right. So yeah, definitely we have a much better situation for trading when there's a way to plan. But if they leave it open, yeah, it could make for a very tough fall trading situation, and that's precisely what we don't want. So yeah, I mean, and again, it would make sense to kind of hike the rates, at the end of the year when, everything's kind of calm, and start, the calendar year fresh. Right, so if everything holds steady within the next 10 minutes, we'll have a short signal on the Dow. Oil is choppy, and I thought that was a pretty good candidate there for a trade, but doesn't appear. DAX, I'm about to get to the DAX. I just wanted to check out oil real quick. And again, I apologize about the speed of my charts, usually around big news. Oh, yeah. Definitely the DAX. I mean, as long as we don't get the big wick on the bottom, then then it looks like we'll have a nice short setup on the DAX. And this is a really good question, guys. Given the fact that the press conference is still to come, it might be smart to take a trade now. What do I think? Absolutely. So my belief is that we trade the signal. So the market essentially preempts whatever's happening in the fundamental world. So if enough market participants and we see enough of a reason for a good signal, I think that we should take it. I mean, again, for anybody that just joined us, when we're talking about these kind of big news trading scenarios, we take them on demo, and some in the group have been doing it long enough with us to potentially take them a small position live. But when we're discussing trades here, for the most part, that means demo trades. But I think if we have solid signals at the end of this 15-minute candle, then we can. And I will be trading on demo because I'm still trying to, give it the scientific go of my method of testing. So as long as we don't get a big spike down on the DAX here, again, it's a little bit subjective, but if we can at least get maybe down here so that it looks like a solid signal rather than volatile, and I think that'll be good. I also want to go back to the Dow. And what we've seen in the past is that when we do get the good signals, they do tend to follow through. But when we get marginal signals, when we get the signals that really kind of could go, could be a signal, might not be, those are the ones that tend to not work out. So when thinking about taking these news trading signals, we want to make sure it's a definitive signal that really kind of comes out and smacks you in the face. And we got about 5.5 minutes till the end of the candle. A quick read of the Fed statement seems very neutral. Interesting. It's my personal belief that it's just better to give the patient the medicine and then deal with the side effects afterwards rather than worry about the patient being, in perfect condition to take the medicine. And the Fed shouldn't be overly concerned about the markets anyway. That always seems to be a political aspect of the Fed these days. That's a good question. So the question is there a gold long signal if we close below 1125? I think that's kind of open to interpretation a little bit, but I would say there's still a signal. It's just not quite as desirable of a signal if we don't close above 1125. The one thing that I would watch for is how big of a wick on top. If we close rather close to the top of the candle, then it certainly shows there's a little bit more gusto in that direction. Whereas, when we're looking at the DAX here, yes, it's a bearish candle, but we're barely making it out of the bearish Dynafib. We've got a big wick on the bottom. That, to me, doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in that kind of setup. So the gold setup looks good, but of course, we don't look at any setup in isolation normally, unless there is some news item that specifically relates to the instrument. In this case, this is a market-wide kind of news release. So we want to see confirmation and correlation across every instrument, and that would give us kind of the best situation for any sort of trade that we'd be taking. So if gold, makes this big march up, whereas all the other ones are kind of holding horizontal, then it lowers our chances of getting a good result from the trade. However, if we see everything moving, then usually the results are great. But it doesn't mean you can't. It doesn't mean we can't take the trade. And so far, gold looks like the best candidate for a trade. And it looks like, well, at least for the moment, it's been above 1125. So I want to take another quick look at oil. Oil also looks like a decent setup. Again, coming in as a PFT on the 15-minute. We also have, as long as it closes a little bit stronger, I would say, as long as we can get up to 47.5 or above that, then, we'll have essentially an early entry signal on Momentum Master. We'll have a decent setup on FibMaster as a PFT there in reaction to, to our areas of support and resistance. And we've got a comment here, Brent agrees too. So we've got confirmation across both oils there. Yeah, I haven't put Brent to 15-minute. I have it on the 1 hour, but we'll take a close look at that anyway. We've got about a minute and a half left in this candle. And remember, we don't have to trade the first 15-minute candle, but that does, if we do get signals there. And I see what you're saying. Yeah, Brent seems to be powering up as well. Of course, you've got 50 pips now, or a little bit less than that, to the key 50 level on Brent. If that's shattered by the end of the week, then we might be talking about bullish oil markets for next week's trading. Really hopeful about that DAX setup, but the way it stands now, it doesn't look very good. Got about a minute left on the candle. The Dow has reversed course, And I thought we were going to have a decent sell signal there too. We don't. So I think probably the only signals I see are oil and gold. That's pure volatility on wow, that's a big move in gold. It's a little bit more than 100, 110 pips. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna take a demo trade on gold. I'll be right back. Okay, so what I did with gold is I split the difference. So we kind of closed up at 1130, and our kind of next major area of support and resistance below it is 1125. So I took half a position at the close at 1130, and then I split the difference between where we closed and the next support and resistance, and I put the second half in at 1127 and a half because I figure there might be a little bit of volatility to push it back down. Maybe down to 1125 itself. We'll see how that works out. Of course, remember keeping in mind that the gold setup is kind of alone there, and it's not necessarily confirmed by the index market's movement as well. So we'll just have to see how that works out. Did anybody take anything else, and did anybody take oil? No, only spectating, and that's that was really the major part of this is really just spectating. Nothing here, not getting a warm feeling about anything, and that's again, I think that's smart. I see the press conference as a separate news event, and we'll look afterwards. Okay, that's a really good strategy. Since that might be kind of the deal closer there, that this isn't kind of new info to the market without the rate hike, but the press conference, because of the language used there, that might be the real kind of meat and potatoes of the news. And so we have a press conference in about 12 minutes. So it seems that the decision to hold on raising the interest rate has quite a bit to do with the very low cost of energy. So the recent hold down in oil essentially has kept inflation very low. So I like this question. The question is, which is more risky, trading FOMC or taking a punt on the horses? That's that's a good question. I think both of those come with their own set of factors, because I think some people are very, very good at betting on the ponies. When I lived in Texas, I actually knew some professional horse breeders, and they made a lot of money from it. Of course, they didn't bet on the horses; they just raced them. But I think there's some people, if you know the inside information, then you'll have a leg up. And it's a calculated bet, as always. And I think just doing it cold with very little information, I think they're equally as dangerous. But at least in our experience with the news trading so far, that when we get a decent signal on the 15-minute, it has worked out pretty well. We've had more wins than losses. Looks like oil's starting to reverse a little bit. My gold position, I think, it got clicked in on the second half. So let's see where the run goes. We've got about 8 minutes till the press conference, and we will see at that point if we have any major movement. Interesting thing to note about the DAX, we've discussed this over the recent course of events, is that we have price action essentially moving in one direction, and our Williams moving in another. And so that pretty much should scotch the trade. This is a really good question. Wasn't there a candle size limit for entries you use, Omar? Uh, yes. Okay, so under normal conditions, we have candle size limits. But for news trading, because of the nature of the beast, we don't. That kind of gets, we have a special set of rules for news trading. And candle size limits, because we understand that news can be highly volatile, and we understand that by its very nature is very dangerous environment to trade. We make essentially a little bit of compensation for that by I guess kind of excluding any sort of candle size limit, because under bigger news moves, that's when we can actually see a run that would in normal cases keep us out of the market. So this, we apply a lot of the normal setup rules to it, but we take some chances with news trading because it is inherently much riskier anyway. And so when we're focusing on just trading around the news with the 15-minute or even at the end of the hour, we don't necessarily restrict ourselves with the candle size limit. Although that is something to keep in mind that, even though we have, a 150 pip restriction on gold, for example, we see a 250 pip single hour candle, there's very little likelihood that you're going to get much run beyond that. So everything kept within reason there. So how did we exceed our limit on gold? Pretty close. 148, our limit's 150. So yeah, under normal conditions, this would not be, we would not be taking a standard setup here. We would not be taking a normal PFT here. And I mean, you can see that my position so far is losing. My first position is down a bit, and my second position's down a little bit. So, of course, as our other member pointed out, the markets might be waiting for this press conference to really make their, I guess, moves. And I think we've got a little bit less than 2 minutes before that happens. And to kind of go over things again, the best news trading scenarios we get is when we have broad participation and definitive signals across all the instruments, meaning that the market has really made up its mind on where to go. And so we did see a punch through on gold that seemed like a decent signal, but we didn't see that confirmed across other instruments. So it, by definition, is not, it's an ideal news trade. I take it on demo because it's demo. If I was trading now, I might get in long when hitting the fib level again as a fresh run up about half the move. Okay, yeah, so it makes sense, maybe to put in a long, a buy limit just a little bit above 1125, and that would seem to be about what the 50% retracement of the move up, and it's also a good support level. We know 1125 on gold is a big level. So okay, here we are at the half hour, and the press conference is going to start. We'll see if we can get any sort of new movement. course, a good run up in the Dow on this candle would be a pretty good long signal there. We're not getting it. We're not seeing it yet, but it could happen. Yeah, gold may be recovering a little bit. It's a little bit above second position. The Dow seems to be moving up a little bit. And we'll see what's going to happen at the end of this candle. I think if we can get a close above 16,800 on this candle, then I'll take a long position on the Dow on demo, of course. That seems like a pretty decent signal. If we close strong by the end of this candle, we've got about 6.5 minutes left. The US dollar is certainly continuing to weaken against all other majors. And yeah, I think that obviously would be the fallout from the lack of the rate hike, and apparently, especially in their first release statement, it didn't seem that there was any language to indicate that it was coming anytime soon, and that global pressures on the interest level here and the weak exports certainly don't indicate that a rate hike is imminent. The gold trade was starting to recover and had just about gotten into profit in the aggregate. Yep. So from 27.5 is up, 15 or so, almost 20 pips, and the original position is getting closer to break even. Let's see if the Dow can pull off an entry. That's pretty close. We'll have to see where it finishes the hour. Like I said, if it closes above 16,800, I'll be taking a long on demo there. Yeah. So we got about a minute and a half, but the Dow setup seems pretty imminent. Unless the market crumples, in the next minute. And I want to bring up the DAX again. That divergence between Williams on price action and Williams, it was a pretty good indicator that sell trade was not a good one to take. Even if you looked at the breakout as a good sell setup, we saw the divergence in the Williams. The Williams starting to move higher, even though price action was moving lower. And look at the result. We're now starting to move higher, and it would have, killed any short trade to begin with. This could certainly, especially with a little bit stronger close on the DAX, this could indicate, there it is. So let me see. I'll take my Dow long. So that's a decent setup on the DAX, and I'll be taking a long on the Dow from here, maybe back down to about 16,820. Give me a second. Take one. I'll do the split position again. Okay, so I took one long, just a little. It was a bit above candle close, and then I put another position down at 16,820. It may not get back down there, but we'll see. So far, that's in profit. Let's see what our gold trade's looking like. Huge spike on the 1 hour with the DAX. That's very understandable considering the volatility we've had. Okay, so now both gold positions are in profit, and it's a decent spot right now because we have that second position in 1127.5, and it looks like we're up and away. I'm trading the fade on gold, going quite nicely. Nice. So once again, so far at least, and we'll have to see what the result is by the end of the day, but so far both positions, or actually all three positions taken as individual trades, are all winning. So that's good. And again, our news trading strategy does seem to be pretty decent. So we'll just have to see what happens with the result here, but so far so good. Everything is in the green. And I will leave you guys to your own devices as far as the hour end goes. Again, we found that there's quite a bit, more benefit to trading the 15-minute with the news than the 1 hour. But if you guys want to maybe take some demo positions, if there's some decent signals on the 1 hour by the end of the hour, then please don't hesitate to send in your results to me, and I can share with everybody else. Yeah, let's make some money. Exactly. Are there any other questions, comments, or anything you guys want to discuss before we wrap this up? And I just want to say thank you guys very, very much for attending this session. And once again, I'm really, really happy to say that it appears that our news trading looks like a winner. I mean, so far the Dow position I just took is winning. Both gold positions are winning. It seems that the more we do it, the stronger the case gets for actually doing this on a regular basis live. And that's pretty handy to have because certainly big news keeps most, more conservative-minded. Like I consider us a rather conservative-minded group because we don't like to take, crazy risks. But it does give us an opportunity to trade when a lot of other traders can't, without exposing ourselves to too much danger by that volatility. As you see, we didn't take any positions when it was, highly volatile, but we did take, positions so far that are working out really nice. The Dow position is, up about 55 pips. Gold is doing very well. So I have Bollinger Bands on my 15-minute DAX, and they are wide open. Right on, right on. So again, I think we saw a DAX long setup at the end of this last candle as well. Very interesting session. Thanks for doing it. It's my pleasure, guys. I hope to see you guys next week, and I know that hopefully we'll have a much better week next week than we did this week. That all this big news is out of the way. And I look forward to seeing you guys then. So take care, have a great weekend, thanks a lot, and I'll catch you later.